As an e-commerce brand, there's quite a few things you need to balance at the same time. In this video, we're going to look at the 5 main core drivers of any e-commerce business. Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Jack. I'm the founder here at Scenarius. We are a small marketing agency based here in London that helps e-commerce brands grow through Facebook and Instagram advertising. In this video, we're going to go over the 5 main core drivers of e-commerce and how you can focus on them and how you can lay out a strategy for them as well. The first core driver that we're going to discuss today is influencer marketing. As an up-and-coming e-commerce brand, the first thing you want to consider, especially when you have a limited budget, is how can you get your product out there in front of your target audience at the lowest cost possible. Before diving headfirst and trying to reach out as many influencers as at random, the first thing you want to make sure you do is go through an extensive researching phase. You want to create a few customer avatars based on your ideal customer base. For example, if you are a skincare brand that deals with acne related problem, try to think about what does your target audience search online, who are the people they follow, and what's their general consumer behavior. Once you have a few customer avatars, you want to think about who those people are and who are they likely to follow. For some brands and industries, for example, if you're a tech company that creates tech accessories, tech review channels on YouTube is a very, very good way to start. When looking for possible influencers to work with, there are 2 main factors you want to consider, assuming that, of course, their audience matches your target market. This comes first. It doesn't matter if they have millions of followers, unless their following readily and consistently engages on their Instagram page, YouTube channel. It would be very, very hard to tell what sort of results you're gonna get with that, working with that influencer. In the beginning, it's not so much of an issue in terms of being very specific in terms of the influencers you want to work with. You want to try to get your product in the hands of as many people as possible, so it is going to have a very, very low conversion rate when you're reaching out to influencers. What you also want to do in the beginning is reach out to micro influencers within the same space. Another thing to mention about influencers, you need to try to get as much content as possible from the influencers, even if that content they do not post on their page. So you might pay the influencer for a few posts, but you also want them to create content of them receiving the product, creating an unboxing, and even if they allow, creating a testimonial after they've used your product. This is a really, really important thing to remember, because once you work with that influencers and you have that content, that's a digital asset that you can use later in your creative ads, as well as in your email marketing and on your website. One last thing I'll mention about influencer marketing that's very, very important is to try to achieve audience overlap. This might seem counterintuitive because you might think, okay, I want to reach as much people as possible, so I'll only go after influencers who have very separate audiences. But what you're trying to achieve here with influencer marketing is omnipresence. You're trying to create an impression on your target consumer that your product is everywhere. Most people are not going to buy the product if they see it on one influencer's page, but if they see multiple influencers posting about the product, then they're much more likely to make an informed decision. The second core driver you want to focus on as an e-commerce brand is digital advertising. Whether that's Facebook, Instagram, other platforms like YouTube or Pinterest, that should be the next step once you get the ball rolling to look at how you can advertise effectively on those platforms and generate a positive return on ad spend. For most e-commerce brands, the main form of digital ads is going to be Facebook and Instagram. Depending on the demographic you're targeting, you definitely could consider running ads on platforms like YouTube, Google, Pinterest is a good one, and as we very all know, LinkedIn is an upcoming platform, as well as TikTok. Facebook ads is arguably the fastest and most effective way to directly grow your business as an e-commerce brand. With the tools like the Facebook Pixel, you're able to track users that visit your website and target them later by running campaigns to new audiences or to audiences who have interacted with your brand one way or another. One thing to very quickly mention, Facebook and Instagram ads does require an upfront investment. So unless you're willing to invest a bare minimum, $1,000, euros or pounds a month into them, because they do take a bit of time to understand which audiences work, what messaging resonates, and how do you set it up properly and structure the campaigns to make them work effectively. To basically overview on the ad, starting with the creative consisting the image and the video copy is obviously going to differ depending on what product you're selling. If you're a fashion brand or a beauty or skincare or electronics, but the marketing principles across all of these types of products is the same. One thing that's really important, and I see time and time again when I'm researching e-commerce brands, is you want to highlight what benefits does your product bring to the end consumer. Many people end up falling into the trap of listing the features of the product instead of what does that mean for the end consumer. One thing also to mention when you're first starting out with Facebook and Instagram ads, what I've found to be the most effective way of starting out is using user-generated content in the form of video to be able to demonstrate how the product is used, the benefits of the product. Even showing pictures of before and after is a really great way to grab a lot of attention. I'm not going to go into it too much detail. Look out for further videos, as digital ads is the main service we offer and provide here at Scenarius, and it is our specialty. So look out for upcoming videos going into more detail about how do you create a comprehensive Facebook and Instagram ad strategy for your brand. The third core driver you need to be focusing on as an e-commerce brand is, of course, email marketing. Having a large and healthy email list is one of your greatest assets as an e-commerce brand. So you must create a comprehensive strategy on how are you going to go about collecting those emails, increasing the likelihood of people signing up to your mailing list, and making sure that once they visit the store, you're able to collect that email to use for the campaigns, as well as keeping a backlog of what they do on your website. One obvious way to do this is to give people a discount voucher on your website, and I'm sure you've seen most e-commerce stores do this, where they offer 10% off your first order to enter the email addresses. But again, when this sort of marketing tactic becomes mass market and people know about it, you want to get a little bit more creative. There's other brands that actually create a spinning wheel of fortune where users have the opportunity of winning something if they enter their email addresses. I'll pop up an example of it right here. And that's a really creative way of getting people interested once they land on your webpage to enter their email addresses. Email is also a really great way to assess the interest of a new product that you would like to launch. Let's say you're in the process of coming up with a new product or a complementary product. It's really crucial to try to build a mailing list pre-launch. This allows you to gauge the interest of the people who sign up for the pre-orders, and it also gives you an idea of what sort of inventory you need to match that demand. In terms of email flows, emailing your list, you want to aim to email your list at least once a week. High quality pieces of content, whether that be new offers, whether that be part of your blogs that you're running on your store, just making sure you're engaging that email list and keeping your open rate high. There are many strategies that you can use to actually drive revenue through email by Klaviyo, which allows you to put a post-purchase automation, cross-selling campaigns, being able to do an abandoned cart series. But again, in this video, I'm just going over the high-level stuff. I'm going to be making videos in the future going into more detail about what sort of email campaigns work, how do you actually set them up within Klaviyo to make sure that you have a comprehensive email marketing strategy. The fourth thing we're going to talk about today is the Webstore Design. Now, of course, this is not something that you want to focus on when you first start out. You want to make sure that you have a very basic layout. Using one of Shopify's templates is more than sufficient, and once you have that winning product, you'll be able to start focusing on optimizing your web store for conversions. Please do not spend time optimizing your website before you actually have sales and you have organic traffic to the website that's already converting. With Shopify making it a lot easier, it's very difficult to mess this up. The number one thing you want to avoid with your web store design is you do not want to overwhelm the user. Think about the last time you bought a product from a website with 13 pop-ups, music playing in the background, and a messy layout. So you want everything clean, minimalistic, and just easy in terms of customer experience. Here's a basic structure that you can stick by. On the homepage, you want one image, one header, and one call to action that is very clear and succinct to what your brand represents, what your product is, and perhaps what problem it solves, as well as a clear call to action of shop now, for example. The next section of the homepage, you want to go over the best sellers of your website. What that allows you to do is for people who already know your brand, who want to come back and buy something again, they'll be able to easily access the best sellers on the website and check out quickly. This is also very beneficial if you have an extensive product catalog. People visiting your website for the first time can easily get very overwhelmed by the number of products you have on your web store. So having the 3 or 4 best sellers on that homepage is very, very beneficial. The last thing that's really important to include in almost every single e-commerce store is some sort of social proof. Whether that's PR campaigns that you've done with the media, or it's testimonials that people have used your products, even if it's just simple Instagram posts of people actually using or wearing your products, works really well in increasing the trust of the user within that first touch point. One thing you might also consider if you're a fashion brand, for example, is to create an introductory video that tells the user what this brand is about, who they represent, and usually those videos look really aesthetic and are very well produced. But if you can't afford that at that stage of your e-commerce brand, then you shouldn't worry about it. It's not essential. Now, the fifth and final core driver that we're going to discuss today is product development. It only applies if you have a solid winning product that should be driving over 80% of your revenue on the store. Your flagship product should always remain to be your main revenue driver, and you never want to fall into the trap of the shiny object syndrome and following new products and new trends and losing sight of the problem the brand is trying to solve. One thing to mention when you're looking to introduce new products or complementary products is to look at your 3 and 4 star reviews. Is there any mention of whether or not product works with another product, for example, so you can create your own version of that complementary item. A really good example of this is, let's say you're selling a toothing product for babies. Your customer might wonder if an antibacterial UV light works along with the product. Here's a perfect opportunity for product development. You can introduce an antibacterial UV light case that can be bought along with the toothing product. One thing you always want to consider when introducing new products is what is in it for the consumer. You want to think about how does that make the customer experience easier, and you also want to think about product development in terms of what benefit is that bringing the consumer. The last thing to mention is you want to make sure you're ahead of any cyclical launch schedules for product launches. For example, if you're in the tech industry space, accessories need to be created year over year depending on the dimensions of the tech products that they work on. So iPhone cases, for example, every year you'd have to create a new product and a new product launch. So you need to make sure you have a comprehensive marketing calendar that allows you to market with your email list, as well as run proper Facebook and Instagram ads to those people ahead of the launch to make sure you have a successful launch. And there you have it, guys. That's the 5 core drivers of any e-commerce business. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you found it useful, make sure to give us a comment, a like, and share with us in the comments which one of the core drivers you're focusing on and which one do you know least about and struggle with. Also make sure to subscribe to our channel. We are an up-and-coming channel, we're new, but we will be covering those 5 core drivers in excruciating details in the upcoming videos, going over gritty strategies, looking at the latest and most successful e-commerce brands. What sort of marketing strategies have they been implementing, and how can you implement them for your store? Finally, if you are an e-commerce brand owner that is struggling with any of the following and would like to apply to work with us, I'll leave the link in the description to book a 30-minute complimentary call with me to see how perhaps we can help. That's it for now, and see you guys in the next one.